Hi, my name is Josh Orlean. I live in Huntington with my wife and my cat. Uh, I teach courses about the benefits of plant-based nutrition, and I have run events where we cook food that is plant-based. I was responsible for having the documentary Forks Over Knives play at the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington, and I have been passionate about this for, God, since 1999.
Okay. So today we're going to do a little interview with Josh. So Josh, what is plant-based whole food?
So plant-based whole food, many people have heard the term vegan or vegetarian. Uh, Plant-based whole food is that the food, any recipe that's made uses vegetables, fruit, grains, and beans, and seasonings, and that it's whole food means that it has not been processed. That that it's not processed. Like packaged food, if there's there's a long list of ingredients. They say that if there's a food that your grandmother wouldn't recognize as food, that's processed.
So what got you interested in learning and teaching about the connection of plant-based whole food nutrition to health?
Okay. Um, Heart disease runs in my family. And my father died at the age of 52 when I was 18 years old. And my grandfather also died at the age of 52. And around the time that I was turning 50, I found out that I was following in their footsteps. And it got me very interested in exploring ways that food choices might make a difference instead of just totally depending upon medicine and, God forbid, surgery. So that's one of the things that got me very interested in it. I was lucky enough to stumble upon a monthly dinner lecture series that was held in my hometown of Huntington. And I met many of the doctors who specialize in that. That not only are they traditionally Western medicine trained, but they have studied the research that has gone on around the world showing that food choices have a big impact, a much more of a say on the course of disease than many doctors are aware of.
Okay. So there are so many theories about what is the healthiest way to eat. What evidence is there that it works?
Okay. Well, first I want to talk about there's a book that came out around about 10 years ago. I may be wrong. It's called The China Study. It's written by a research scientist, probably one of the top nutritionists and research scientists. Uh, his name is T. Colin Campbell. And going back to 1973, the Prime Minister of China, Zhou Enlai, was dying of cancer. And he started a research study where they had 650,000 researchers travel around China, documenting the type of foods that people ate, the incidence of disease. And what was special about China is that they are genetically homogeneous, which means that they all have a very similar heritage, genetic heritage. But there are some areas of China that are very modern, much like Western society, and there's a very high incidence of cancer and other diseases, and areas that are very rural where they eat mostly plant-based food, unprocessed food, very little animal food, and there is a much lower incidence of disease. So that's one piece of information. The China study is thought of as the encyclopedia of this whole approach to health. And then I had the good fortune of connecting with Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn wrote a book called Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease, which came out about 6 years ago, and probably more. And he, in his family, they experience a high incidence of strokes. He saw that happen to his father. He started doing research. He's one of the top doctors at the Cleveland Clinic. He's not a cardiologist, but he was very concerned about his own well-being and getting down to the root cause of disease. And so he put out a proposal to the management of Cleveland Clinic saying that he wanted to do a research study to see how impactful the food choices are on the course of heart disease. And the diet was a plant-based whole foods diet, where, as he said, he called it a diet where anything with a face or a mother you do not eat. It's a low-oil, low-fat diet, and vegetables, fruit, grains, and beans. And he found patients that were referred to him by his fellow doctors, 24 people who were not in very good shape. 5 of them it was predicted would not live through the year. It was, as he put it, a sorry lot that had a hard time traveling just across the room without feeling exhausted and in pain. And they followed this program. They had a total, before working with him, a total of 49 cardiac events. After they started the diet, there was 1 cardiac event in the whole group, and that was back in 1986 that they started. And that so impressed me. And I was just told that I needed to have I needed to have surgery. They wanted to do what's called an angiogram with the possibility of putting in stents in my heart, and I really wasn't interested. My wife and I got to meet with Dr. Esselstyn. In the meeting, after reading his book, I was completely won over by the fact that he 18 people, who stuck with the program, that were told they wouldn't last the year, many of them, or their prognosis was not good, and they got to be alive. They're still alive today.
How did that impact your life?
So in following his program, when I spoke with him, he told me that within 3 weeks of following his program, my heart would be heart attack proof, which was a really bold, audacious statement to make. And so I started following his program. I dropped a total of 17 pounds. I was a waist 36. I am now a waist 32. My cholesterol levels dropped so much that my cardiologist actually squealed over the phone in terror because she had never seen numbers drop like that. And I felt great. The cardiologist dropped she cut the dosage of my medicine twice, cut it in half twice. So I was so impressed. Friends were so impressed. So that's how it affected me.
Great.